All right, here's my pseudo midterm review of a Specialized Status 160. I'll be bringing up some thoughts in comparison to my other recent bike, which was a Specialized Stump Jumper. But yeah, let's get into just looking at the components quickly, and then I'll kind of give you my 2 cents on everything. So Fox 36 fork up front. We have Fox DPX2 2021. Rear shock, we have SRAM NX group set in the back. We have 27.5 Rovell rims in the back, 29 in the front. And I will flip it around and I'll get into the other aspects of it. All right, so here's the other side. Give it a better view of these Kodar brakes. 200 mil front and back. Actually, really nice brakes. And then one other aspect is it has the new thicker style, I think 31.6 dropper, 170 mil, which is a really nice drop. An X Fusion Manic, I believe, dropper on it. Bars are 400 millimeter wide. Really nice matchmakers, which is really nice to see on a budget, pseudo budget bike like this with Deity grips coming standard. So this bike retails for $3,700 Canadian. I believe it's closer to 28 US, $2,800 US. So for that, for people unfamiliar with bikes in this range and this component level, it's actually an incredible deal for a Specialized at first blush. Fox 36 Rhythm is kind of known to be like an excellent performer at its price point, far outperforms any lower end Lyric in my opinion. The DPX2 performance in the back is kind of, I don't know, it's in a really nice sweet spot of performance to money dollar value amount. So it's got a really smart spec at first glance. Yeah, like the cockpit, like we're even looking at a really nice stem here. You're looking at carbon spacers, which is a really nice touch. We have the Specialized branding only in very few spots in this bike. So we have a Specialized up front. There's a Status on the down tube. And then we just have some Specialized branded components where Specialized is showing up. It's showing up here, and that's also showing up on the chain guard, which I'll show in a second when I flip around. But yeah, it's definitely a low-key Specialized bike. Let me flip it around and I'll show you. All right, so here's the other side, and yeah, just to give you a better look, we got the SRAM NX here, I believe 11 to 50 tooth. Yeah, SRAM NX cranks. This is like the Specialized rocker link suspension, similar to a Stump Jumper, and then the Specialized, it's got the nice, not the ribbed one like the Specialized Stump Jumpers, and then they kind of cut it too short. They pulled the Giant on that one. Here's the Status branding on the down tube. It's very low key. Cable routing details. We have the really nice like Stump Jumper-esque grommets. Then they kind of cut it short here. They just did they did routing right here, which I kind of, it's a pet peeve of mine. It's not actually, it's better than most. At least it actually goes in the arm here. It's not getting cut up by the chain like some certain narco bikes I've been looking at. The rear brake routing, it's very similar. It just goes on the other side there. So not terrible, not the best. And then you get a little, I think Specialized brand chain guard. So that's the spec with butchers in both the front back. Specializes like tire. So that's a quick spec review. My ride impressions of this, I've not been overly impressed with this bike on the ride thing. It's just like the sum of its components did not meet the performance that I expected. I believe the issues are coming from just that rear link suspension. It's just not performing that well in the long travel variant for when you're actually pedaling. This would be an excellent bike if you did not want to like pedal up stuff. If you're doing a lot of shuttling, if you want this as a park bike, excellent. But it pedals extremely poor. I'm comparing that to a Rocky Mountain Instinct BC edition that I had a similar travel length. And yeah, I was shocked at how poor this thing climbs. Don't know if that has to do with the mullet wheel setup, but you definitely notice the mullet wheel setup when you're going down. It is very poppy and it's very fun, but this definitely is not the poor man's Stump Jumper Evo. That's what I was trying to make this bike to be for me. I kind of enjoy pedaling still, and I still do a lot of ascending, and this bike's just not working out, so I'm actually gonna sell it here. It's kind of disappointing in my opinion, and the whole marketing thing with this is I bought this about 2 months ago, and it's still not even on the Specialized website, and I think they're trying to do an influencer rollout and then just roll out a certain number to a certain amount of shops. So I purchased mine at a local shop here in Calgary, Alberta, and they're really good about it. Excellent shop to deal with. It's just, this bike does not do it for me. It, in comparison to a Stump Jumper, you're going to notice a lot worse pedaling efficiency. You're going to notice that it just kind of, it just rolls through the back shock really quickly on descending. It descends well. I can't fault it too much, but it does like eat up through its travel quite quickly. Yeah, the components are excellent, with the exception, and it's a big exception, of the SRAM NX. So my experience with this is I must have got a faulty unit from the factory. My second ride out, the clutch failed and I had to push the bike home, and then the bike had to go to the shop to get it repaired and replaced. So that's frustrating, and that's kind of been my overall experience with SRAM components in general. They, when they work, they're okay, but I find that the quality control from the factory is kind of terrible, and they really don't have the same backing. And I guess, I don't know, I just really prefer Shimano. I've had much better experience. I know some people have really good experience with SRAM, but in my opinion, they just don't have it. Like the machining on the cassette and everything, it's just so poorly done. I would not, this bike, I've learned a lot of lessons. I would not buy another bike with SRAM NX. It kind of drives me nuts, especially after having to walk the bike home after the second ride. If you do end up purchasing this bike, do yourself a favor, swap out that rear derailleur to GX before you even ride it. Like, it's really a necessary upgrade. Build that up into the price. That's really the only terrible component on it. Everything else is really smartly spec'd for the price. Like, Specialized in Canada, they have a hardtail Specialized fuse with a Fox 34, and they're charging $3,200. So this is only $500 more, and you're getting a Fox 36, a DPX2, and code brakes. So like the value's there. It just doesn't have that usual refinement that you'd find in a Specialized bike. I think that they might not even be putting this on the website by the looks of it. And I'm guessing because that's just not, it's not a normal Specialized bike in the sense that it's not really well thought out. I think this is kind of like a side pet project where they're only going to be putting limited number out, and they're doing that for a reason. I would not recommend this bike to somebody who's just going to use it as their only bike. If you want a good shuttle bike, if you want a good park bike, and this is your second bike, this is a great bike for you. But if you want just a nice trail bike that pedals decent and you're gonna have a good time on it, this is not the bike for you. There's just far too many compromises in the way that it rides. It does not ride like a Stump Jumper. You are going to be hurting on the climbs. You really are, well, I'm gonna be annoyed by having to carry a 27.5 and a 29-inch tube as backup because I can run tubeless on my longer rides. I don't know what to say. I wish this bike was a better bike. I wouldn't honestly classify this as a Specialized bike. It Specialized, in my mind, is kind of known for having as good of quality as boutique brands, and this is more of like a giant slash like lower end, I don't know, maybe lower end Cannondale type build quality. But like the weird thing is the components are really good. It's just the geometry and everything doesn't seem to be dialed. Like, note if you do end up buying one of these, it has the S2 to S5 sizing. So this S3 is like a medium large type deal. It's not the same as the Stumpjumper Evo where the S3 is the largest one you can get. But I struggle a lot with this bike because there's a lot of things that they've done right. I'd say they've done, the major amount of the components have been spec'd really well for Specialized. Change this out to maybe a Shimano Dior group set, be a lot better. I do like these touches of including the matchmaking on these, even though it is a base level bike. Really weird that they put D80 grips on it instead of just Specialized brand ones. Like, honestly, I would have dropped these for some Specialized lock-on grips if they're able to even upgrade the derailleur to a GX, but that's just me. Not the bike for me. It's obviously the bike for somebody. I would not say this is the only bike for anybody. It's definitely not a do-all bike. This is a park, like, let's ride downhill bike. This is not let's pedal up some fire roads type of bike. And it's not really being billed as anything right now because they don't have marketing on it, but definitely do not buy this bike if you're expecting it to handle anything like a long travel Stumpjumper or Stumpjumper Evo. Buy the Stumpjumper Evo. Yeah, I'll be selling this bike because I've kind of been extremely disappointed with it, and yeah, wish I had a better review of this. I was amazed by my previous Stumpjumper about how good of a bike it was to ride, and I just did not have the same enjoyment out of this bike, and maybe somebody else will, but yeah, those are my thoughts on this bike.